when your manners are tested. And I will tell you a little bit about what I mean by this later on. But I guess all of us agree that ethics and mannerism is something that everybody understands the value of it, the importance of it. Even those who are unethical people, they talk about ethics and the importance of manners. And they adopt certain type of manners, And in Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he couldn't put it any clearer to us as a Muslim how important manners as one of the most important dimensions of Islam when he said, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. He made the purpose of his message, the purpose of him being sent to us is to perfect and to complete our manners. So that means that human beings can come up with manners, inherit certain manners, but Islam comes to complete that ethic system, to complete that mannerism that people talk about and people have. And this hadith in Muwatta Imam Malik rahimahullah ta'ala. Everybody understands the importance of mannerism and good manner. Couples married, they understand the importance. Husband and wife, children and parents, friends, relatives, businessmen, leaders and governments and citizens. Everybody understands the importance of it. And believers, non-believers, people who are righteous, people who are fasiq, fajr. Husnul khuluq is the foundation to build any society. That's why when there is a society become immoral and the moral system collapse in any society, it means this society will collapse. And I love what Imam Siraj said. We're living earlier, and that's a very important message. And I think if this is the only message out of this conference that we go home with, in my opinion, it is enough. Which is we living in a time, unfortunately, us as Muslims are the one, in my opinion, and the only one who can stand up firm, tall, and said, we will save our country, we will save our neighborhoods, we will save our world today from going astray and losing their moral compass. I was talking with a group of interfaith group in Houston, priests and rabbis and different groups. And I was talking to them about, aren't you guys worried about how unethical, immoral America becoming? I said, I moved to America in 1998 and I can see a huge shift. There's things I never thought America will adopt, will go toward. And I live in Texas. I don't live in New Jersey or New York. And I still see that. One of them, what he said to me? He looked at me straight to my eyes. David. And he said, Imam Waleed, I do believe the only one can save America are you guys. Don't count on us. Because of what you heard earlier, prophets. So he said, you guys still have that strength to stand. And I think if you guys lead, a lot of us will follow. And that's something I think he meant what he said 100%. Maybe other people feel the same way, but they didn't dare to say it. Allah says in the Quran, وَإِذَا أَرَدْنَا أَن نُهْلِكَ قَرْيَةً أَمَرْنَا مُتْرَفِيهَا فَفَسَقُوا فِيهَا في قراءة أَمَرْنَا مُتْرَفِيهَا فَفَسَقُوا فِيهَا فَحَقَّ عَلَيْهَا الْقَوْلُ فَدَمَّرْنَاهَا تَدْمِيرًا. When we want to destroy a society, we'll make the leader of this society or the masses in this society. Two ways to recite the verse. The leader or the masses. Those people will basically be corrupt and spread corruptions. And what will happen? The whole society will collapse. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said He would never destroy a nation. يُهْلِكْ قَرْيَةً وَأَهْلُهَا. And the people of this village and this city are what? Righteous? No. Muslihun. They are who are commanding people to do good and stopping from being bad. Spreading and defending the moral and the moral compass of the society, and directing people to what is good and taking them away from what is bad. وفي مسلم الإمام أحمد عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال حسن الخلق, good manners, يعمران الديار, حسن الخلق وحسن الجوار يعمران الديار ويزيدان في الأعمار. What bring prosperity? You guys in New Jersey, your motto is what? Liberty and prosperity. That's right. What bring, prosperity to any society is what? Is حسن الخلق, good manners. وحسن الجوار, to be good to your neighbors. Manners, there's certain facts I want to mention about the concept of mannerism ethics. Number one, mannerism, some of them are natural, and most of them are something that you adopt, you develop. Some people naturally have certain manners and born with it. It is part of who they are, part of their DNA. That's why Ashaj Abd Qais, Ashaj is not his name because he had a wound in his forehead, so we call him Ashaj. Okay? Abd Qais, and his name is Mundhir actually. He came to the Prophet ﷺ, and he was a person who took his time, tied his camel, and took a shower, changed his clothes. Then he came to the Prophet ﷺ. While everybody came, messy and with all, the traveling clothes, he took his time and he came a very calm way, looked so nice, looked very respectful. Then the Nabi ﷺ said, you have two qualities that Allah loves them. Al-hilm wal-anah. That you're not a hasty person. You're a calm person. And you're a person who thinks about things before doing, taking your time in a positive manner. Then he said, Ya Rasulullah, is that something I was born with? Natural? Or something I adopt or I developed? He said, no, you're born like that. So that shows you that there are certain qualities you can be born with. Okay? That's why also there is a hadith Muslim Imam Ahmad that the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He created human beings, He took a handful of clay. When He created Adam, He created from clay, but that clay was taken from different corners of earth. قَبَضَ قَبْضَةً مِّنْ أَطْرَافِ الْأَرْضِ. Then He took that handful of clay, put them together. Some of this clay was dark, some lighters, some red. And the hadith goes, قال وبين ذلك قال وفيهم السهل والحزن والخبيث والطيب. And among them who are easygoing, and among them who are difficult person. So that means it's things you can be naturally in you. And there is many evidence that there is also another hadith قال وإن منهم سريع الفيء بطيء الغضب ومنهم سريع الغضب بطيء الفيء. Some people born get angry quickly, some people not. So there is number of narration shows you that there are certain things you're born with, but also most of actually the qualities that you have and the manners that we develop through life are something that we basically develop as we grow. As the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, وَالْحِلْمُ بِالتَّحَلُّمِ وَالصَّبْرُ بِالتَّصَبُّرِ وَمَنْ يَتَحَرَّى الْخَيْرَ يُعْطَهُ وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ الشَّرَّ يُوَقَّهُ. That he said, when practice persevering, you became a persevere person. You will have that quality. You need to practice patience in order for you to be a patient person. You have to put that effort to adopt. It's like knowledge. You put an effort to be a knowledgeable person. And knowledge is something you don't born with, something that you inherit. You don't inherit. You accept, you develop as you grow. So he made some of the mannerism that we have, or some of the qualities and character traits that we have, something we can develop as we develop, knowledge. And how we develop our character traits. What influence us? What shape our character traits? Many factors, quickly. One of them is religion. Whatever belief system that you have, it will impact you. And as Muslims, see how religion impacts us. For example, the Prophet ﷺ said, when you fast, what do? You control your anger. You control your tongue. لا يفسق ولا يرفث. You don't fight back. You don't say bad things. You don't say قول الزور. So that's every year you fast, Ramadan at least. That develop your character traits. Also, another factor, culture. You know, overseas where I used to live, there's big, huge, different gap when I came to America. You know, even though in Texas we are kind of kick back and slow a little bit to take our time, not like you guys here in the East Coast, things are very fast, you know, but even it is a too big shift for me to go to the East Coast. So Texas is a little bit closer to what I used to be. Where I used to live, people, you know, they have a say. They said, don't delay the work of today until tomorrow. Why? Because you have after tomorrow and after tomorrow. They're taking their time too much. So relax. But that's a culture. You know, the culture that you're living in have a great impact. I'll tell you the truth. I'm always fascinated by a lot of American cultures. I'm always, all my life. And there's great cultures that we have here in America. And it's a blessing for us as Muslims who have already developed so much through our religion to be in a society, and there is good and bad in every society. There's a lot of good things that you can adopt. You can see. You can learn. And for instance, you will see some people, their culture teach them how to be so good to their parents. It's a culture, even without knowing any religious, any textual evidence behind it. It just culturally, they are extra good to their parents. Take so good care of them. Some culture teach you to be brave. You know, when I was growing up, my father will do something to what his mother did to him. You know why? If somebody come to my house and knock on my door, and my dad is not in the house, and I open the door and he said, Abuk Mawjood, your father here? If I said no, I will be reprimanded. My father taught me, never say that. You say, Tfaddal, come in. And after he comes in, you tell him, I'm not here. You take care of the guest who comes to the house. I'm here or not. That's a culture. I can't say I'm teaching my kids the same thing, because I don't want any stranger to come to my house. But it's a culture. See, the culture build and affect who you are as you grow up. I grew up in a place, and I go to some places in the Muslim world, they don't smile. I think I don't know why. I don't know if they think their teeth is awra or something need to be covered. But they'll smile. It's culture. I travel a lot, and I tell you, many places I go to, the many masajids, and people are just, can you smile? But generally in America, we smile. One time the passport officer guy told me, why are you smiling in your passport picture? Overseas, you have to be like this. That's, it's not being rude. It's a culture thing, but it's so different. So I always say, guys, Muslim community need to adopt that culture. Anytime you find in this conference or when you go to your community, if you ever find someone without a smile, give them one of yours. Okay? So these are things that you develop because of the influence of the culture. Also, the society that you're living in, not culture, but where you're raised, the environment. SubhanAllah, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, "Man bada jafa." Those who live in desert, they became rough. That's the nature. That's the Arab, if you read the story with the Prophet, very rough, very rude sometimes, and aggressive. Okay? Versus people live, for example, in an isolated place. You go to the hillbillies, and you go to the countryside, and people, because of where they live, what kind of education, people live in city, people live in village, people live in mountains, by the sea. It all had impact on people. Okay? Also, economy, has a great impact on people too, in certain behavior. You know, when they go to New York, I'm like, Ammar Shukri, when he moved to Texas, he told me one of the things which is so strange in Texas, everybody said to me, honey, how would you know, and stuff like that. I'm from New York, you know, I'm from Brooklyn. We don't do that. You know, I'm not used to that kind of talk. You know, people who lived in time of war, different than people who lived in time of peace. People who suffer under certain type of discriminations, and you know, it has, you know, not like somebody born today in 2000, somebody lived in the 70s. And it's different. So much of our manners and our character traits shaped by the time, the place, the economical or the economy that we're living in. A society that is a multicultural society versus a society that you have only one group, all of them cousins living. And it's so many factors, okay? One of the also great factors is who you hang out with. It shapes your character trait. That's why in Islam, it's so important to choose a good wife, because she will be with you, he will be with you, a good husband with a good character traits. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, "Man tardawna deenahu wa khuluqah." Not only his religious, but also his manners is good. You might be a religious person, but you are grumpy guy all the time. You might be, mashallah, making qiyam al-layl, but you're stingy. You know, it doesn't matter. So you need these two, both. Good manners and religious. Anyway, also the friends, and how the Prophet said, Al-mar'u ala dini khalili, you will have the same lifestyles of your friends. You know, عدوى البليد إلى الجليد سريعة كالجمر يوضع في الرماد فيخمد. He said in the poetry, he said, you take a charcoal, put it in the ashes, soon the charcoal will, basically no more fire in it, because it's surrounded with ashes. Anyway, so that's why, subhanAllah, it's very interesting. There is a concept that you read in our history. Ahif ibn Qais, مثلا, he said, we used to go to Qais ibn Asim, and we used to go to learn from Qais ibn Asim al-hilm qabla al-ilm. We used to learn from him one character trait he mentioned, which is al-hilm, persevering, being patient, have a good sense of tolerance before knowledge. Imam Ahmed, 5,000 attended his classes. Only 400 tried the hadith. But what about the rest? 4,600. They are there to learn from his manner. Just watch him, being around him. Ibrahim ibn Habib, he told his son, Ya bunay, go to the fuqaha, go to the ulama, ta'allam minhum, learn from them. Learn what? Min adabihim wa akhlaqihim wa hadihim. Fahuwa ahabbu ilayya min kathiri hadith. I love for you to learn this from them more than loving from you to learn many hadith and narrations from them. Another fact quickly, manners and quality and character traits doesn't stay in the same level. It's like iman, goes ups and downs. So if you don't always work in your character traits and your mannerism to grow, it will decline. It's exactly like your iman. It's hard to keep it and maintain it in one level. Also, one of the things that is so important to remember, that we talk about mannerism, we're not talking about fada'ilul a'mal. A lot of time when we talk about the concept of ethics and manners, you think we talk about like virtue and extra volunteer thing. No, it's not true. It's actually so embedded in our aqidah. That's why Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, in his book Al-Aqidah al-Wasitiyah, he put it as part of the belief of Ahl Sunnah. And Al-Tahawi, when he wrote what's the character trait or what the creed of the Muslim, he included the issue of mannerism. And that's in the early generation. Before all these philosophical debates came to aqidah, if you go back to the early generations, how they talk, they never separated aqidah from ethics. As a matter of fact, today in many universities, ethics and aqidah goes together. And in modern days today, you're familiar with ethics and part of philosophy. But for us, always ethics part of aqeedah, of the creed, of belief, of the belief of Muslim. Good manners is the best thing that you can ever have. It's the heaviest things in your skill on the day of judgment. As Tirmidhi reported that the Prophet ﷺ said so. And he said to Abu Dharr, two things it's easy to do in this life, but so heavy in the day of judgment. What is it? طول الصمت وحسن الخلق. Not to talk too much, and good manners. The one with the good manners is the most beloved one to Allah. Al-Hakim reported that the Prophet ﷺ said, أَحَبُّ عِبَادِ اللَّهِ إِلَى اللَّهِ أَحْسَنُهُمْ خُلُقًا. The most beloved people to Allah, the people of good manners. The one that enter Jannah the most is good manners. At-Tirmidhi reported that the Prophet ﷺ said, one thing or two things will lead so many people to enter Jannah. Taqwa Allah and husn al-khuluq, good manners. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam fi Sunnah Abi Dawood said, with good manners, you will catch up with the level of the one who fast all days and pray all nights. Yudrik darajat as-sa'im al-qa'im. It is the closest one to the Prophet ﷺ and the most beloved one to the Prophet ﷺ, the one who possessed the best of manners. Inna min ahabbikum ilayhi wa aqrabukum ilayya majlisa. The nearest to me, the closest to me, and the one I love the most. The one who what? Memorize the most? No, the one who have the best of manners. It shows that your iman is perfected. He said, sallallahu when he asked, what is perfect iman? Ayyul imani afdal? Qala husnul khuluq. Good manners. That's why Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said to Aisha radiallahu anha about being gentle. There is nothing you can be given better than being gentle. And the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, and never been giving a human being something better from Allah than being patient. أوسع من الصبر. في البخاري ومسلم. And في كتاب قضاء الحوائج ابن أبي الدنيا, he reported that the Prophet ﷺ said, bad manners will corrupt your deeds. Like a jar of honey, you put in it a drop of vinegar. Will corrupt the whole thing. My brothers and sisters, husnul khuluq is something interesting. There is a statement, it's not a hadith from the Prophet ﷺ. It's a statement was so commonly used by Sufis in the early days, and it could mean something correct and could mean something not correct. So even the scholars took that statement, it became common, like Ibn al-Qayyim ibn Taymiyyah used it in the right meaning, which is, a statement says, تَخَلَّقُوا بِأَخْلَاقِ اللَّهِ. Have the manners of Allah. And that statement is correct if you mean by the manners of Allah, it means the qualities of Allah, the traits of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the statement is absolutely correct. There is no any hadith saying that Allah has manners. They refer to Allah as manners. Every hadith reported is either fabricated or weak. But as a concept, it's acceptable to describe or to inform about Allah by saying His manners, you mean His traits, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anyway, knowledge will give you power, but character will give you respect. It will make you a role model. People will look up to you. And I always say to my kids, I prefer to have a good manners than a good looks. Absolutely. It's good to have both, but you know what? If you choose, you should care about أنت بالجسم أنت بالنفس لا بالجسم إنسان. What make you a good human being is not your clothes, it's not your style, it is your character trait. Another fact: Islamic ethics and Islam when we talk about mannerism, it's so interesting. It's very inclusive. In Islam, we talk about manners when it comes to how manners dealing with Allah, manners dealing with the religion, manner dealing with the Prophet, manner dealing with the Quran, manner dealing with the Salah, the act of worship, manners dealing with Muslims, manners dealing with husband and wife, at home, with children, manners that is related to war, manners that are related to rulers and citizen, manners in every aspect of life, with enemy, with friends. In Islam, there is in every aspect in life, there is such of rules and manners and character traits that you should adopt. And that's very amazing. Not only that, there is a manners that Muslim fuqaha, jurists and scholars talk about when it comes how to deal with nature, with earth, with trees, with animals. Sufyan al-Thawri said, if you say to the dog, you son of a dog, meaning that you want to insult the dog, that's not allowed. And if you mean that literally a son of a dog, that's fine. But even dogs and cats and animals, you're not allowed to curse. You're not allowed to use bad manners. You're not allowed to lie to them. You're not allowed to kill, to torture. There's certain manners about that. This is a very big subject, but I just want to know how big this can be. It's okay to struggle with your manners, to struggle with character traits. You work hard on them. I understand that that's okay because the Prophet said, if you work hard on your sabr, you will become sabr. You will become a patient person eventually. But what is not okay is to act like one, but in reality you're not. You put a face. You look like someone who has a good character traits, but you know what? That's in public, but in secret, you're bad. You remember what one of the scholars said? The worst people are the people who act in public as if they are a shaitan enemy, but in secret, they are his best friends. That's not right. So here, some things that I put together, test your manners to see if you truly have a good manners or not. That's what truly shows what you're made of. Mahakat, certain situation that will bring what's really inside you. Number one, you really get to know people's manners when you spend long period of time with them. It's easy to put a good face for a short period of time, for just one lecture, smiling all the time and being nice. But when you spend time with person, long time, that's where you find out if that person has a good manners or not. And that's why in Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, the best of you in manners, the best to their family. Because that's where you spend most of your life with. And you spend a lot of time with. That's what's going to show if you really have a good manners or not. Also, in Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Anas said, خدمت رسول الله 10 سنين. I served the Prophet 10 years. He never hit me. He never tell me uff, show any type of frustration. He never asked me to do something for him, and he never told me, why did you do that? Guys, I challenge you to do it for 10 days with your kids. My brother-in-law used to say, children is the only legal slavery still exists in the world today. Hey, get me the remote control. Hey, get me this. That's his servant. And Anas is what? 10 years old boy or 13, and like his son. He never asked him to do something for him. Also, one of the reasons that the Prophet ﷺ married this large number of women, 9, so 9 women will be witnesses over his character at home. That's a long period. If he's a liar, they will be the first to expose him. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa hasha. So that's something that you look at. You look at the people around you who you spend so much time with, and you see what your good manners. It hurt me so much when I see couples comes to me in their 50s and their 60s, and their marriage turned to be so nasty. Bad language, physical abuse. It's so hard. That just shows that that's not what you made of, something that you need to review, because you don't want to meet Allah with the bad character traits, while you are among the category of people who have good or bad manners. There are so many people I lived with for a long time. But subhanAllah, they change after a while. And there is people who never change. Those who don't change over the course of years. I know these guys, mashallah, some of the organizers of New Jersey now, for 10, 12, 13, 14 years. Imam Siraj for almost 20 years. Same, if it's not better. That's what shows you good man. Imam Ahmed, Ibrahim al-Harbi said, I was in the company of Ahmed 20 years. Day and night, summer and winter. Never met him a day unless I found him better than the day before. Rabi' ibn Khuthaym, the student of Mas'ud, one of the students said, I swear by Allah, this man, I never heard him say the bad words in the last 30 years or so. Not a single bad word. That shows that this is a good character trait. Umar radiallahu anhu said to a man, he said, why are you praising this person? You said, oh, this is a good man. He said, did you travel with him? He said, no. He said, did you had a fight with him and disagreement before? He said, no. He said, did you trusted him with something, give him in a business or something like in a money trade? He said, no. He said, so you don't know him. If he did none of these, you didn't know this person. Maybe because you saw him yakhfad wa yarfa', you saw him in the masjid making sujood and ruku', you think he's a good guy? That's not enough. See what Umar said. That's why they call safar. You know what safar means? Safar come min al-isfar. It means it shows. Why we call safar safar? Because it shows who you really are. When you travel with people and you spend time with them, not these days safar an airplane for a half an hour, but in the old days you travel and you spend days and weeks together. That's why they call it in Arabic safar, لأنه يسفر عن أخلاق الرجال. It shows what kind of manners that you have. And many people I travel with, I went camping. That's why it shows, it helps you to discover yourself, these kind of activities. And that leads me to the second one quickly. I'll wrap it up in 5 minutes. You get to know people when you disagree with them. As long as we agree with each other, everything is handy and dandy and beautiful. The moment we disagree with each other, that's where the real akhlaq comes. I really get to know a lot of people after I disagreed with them. In the beginning, mashallah, of the marriage, you see, he shows you or she shows you the best. But after a while, after you get argument, disagreement, you see the rest. That's the problem. When we disagree with each other, how we will deal with each other. We say disagreement, and opinion should not let us to be differ from another. Beautiful. But when the test comes, I have seen it over the years again and again and again. Calling people's names, accusing them, dropping the culture of cancellation that is we have these days and among even our community, not willing to give people chance, anything you can think of. And not only that people will start digging because they disagree with someone. They're digging on their history and will make any statement. You twist it somehow so they can use it against you. And just because you disagree with them. And some of them even will lie, will make up things about people. While true mannered people, their friendship with their friends grow when they disagree with each other. When Imam al-Shafi'i disagreed with the Salafi, he went and he said, my brother, in the end of the day, don't let our debate in the morning and disagreement in the morning prevent us from being brothers as we go to bed. Everybody in his house. We go back home, we're brothers. Look at people when they disagree with each other. I know people who were partners in business. Perfect. When the dunya came and there's a disagreement, he's thief, I never see this. And terrible. You know what is so sad? Sometimes not even disagreement over things that fiqh or halal and haram. Sometimes disagreement of things that is so ijtihadi, like some political positions. You know, any political position that you choose, or da'wah methods that we might disagree or agree upon. And that became more sensitive to some people than even halal and haram. Just because I have certain political positions that I don't agree with you about. Oh my God, I will be completely canceled. I will not be allowed to do this, to do that. Somebody tell me, I can't invite you to my conference. Why? Because that day you said this and that. Okay, that's my opinion. I'm completely out. So that's just something wrong. That's where you test there's really, to test the manners of people. Another one, I know a lot of like quotes and stories, but I will just skip it. Sometimes one of the way to know the tested the manners of people, when you are in a position of power. As long as you're not famous, as long as you're not powerful person, people tend to be nice. The moment they became rich, they became powerful, they became famous, you see the manners change. I saw a guy that day, just because he have 100,000 followers on TikTok, he's talking to me like as if we are like buddies. And he's like 20 years or 30 years younger than me. I don't have a problem. I didn't get offended, but I was like, I pity him. And he speaks with authority. For God's sake, that's TikTok. What if it's something worth a little bit better? It's amazing how people can change just because of that power that they gain. That's why they said, وَالظُّلْمُ مِنْ شِيَمِ النُّفُوسِ وَإِنْ تَجِدْ ذَا عِفَّةٍ فَلِعِلَّةٍ لَا يَظْلِمُ. You might find someone who's not aggressive to others just because he's weak. I don't agree with Al-Mutanabbi when he said that. That's Aristotle who said that also. It's a Greek philosophy that people have no manners. When they are powerful, they abuse their power. But people who are mannered and they are from inside good, no matter how rich they are, no matter how powerful they are, no matter how positioned, how high they go, they have always a good manners. Look at Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. How he was down to earth even in the highest moment of his life when he entered Mecca sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Look at his companions, Abu Bakr and Umar radiyallahu anhu wa ardah. Ibn al-Jawzi mentioned a story about the Hanbali and the Shafi'is. When the Hanbali had a minister in their favor, they abused the Shafi'i. And when the Shafi'i got Nizam al-Mulk in their side, they abused the Hanbali and shut down the masajid of the Hanbali. And they forced people to say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim and to make qunut. Otherwise they will not lead the prayer. Just because they have power. It's sad. It is very sad. When people have power, manner change. Not only the person who have the position, even people toward that position, that person. There's a minister in Saudi Arabia, he did something very funny. And I heard this story directly. He said, I had a person who worked with me in the ministry, okay, in the state, let's say State Department or Department of Housing. He said, this guy was so disrespectful to me. Never cared for me. When I became the minister, the secretary, he came, ahlan wa sahlan, mashallah, and so respectful. And he invited me to his house. So he said, I sent with the driver my chair. So the driver came and delivered the chair of my office to his house. Then next day he saw me. He said, I was waiting for you to come. Why did you send me a chair? He said, because you only respect the chair. You didn't care about me. You care about that chair that I'm sitting on. And he taught him a lesson. Also, you get to know people when you do business with them. Money, man, shows the real people, what you're really made of. There's a lot of people, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them power, give them money, they change completely. You know what, I saw this a lot of time between husband and wife. When he became rich, he started abusing. When she became rich and making money, she became abusing him. And the akhlaq change, the manner change. You know, and that's very sad. Also, you know what shows the manners and money? When you give somebody's loan. SubhanAllah. There's people, when you give them loan, they pay you back. And there's people like nothing, as if nothing happened. Yeah, there is so many things in Sharia. I talk about the importance of how the manners of giving the debt loan and paying it back. Why? Because that's a test for your manners. Also, another one, and the last one I will end with, your manners will be tested in the time of anger. And anger is one letter away from danger. Your manners will really be tested in the moment when you became angry. Would you control yourself or no? Some people, when they get angry, a'udhu billah, they're so filthy. So filthy. And there's some people, when they get angry, they say, Subhanallah, Astaghfirullah, La ilaha illallah, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. That's from inside somebody's good. And there is somebody, all this curse word. And Nabi said, don't get angry and Jannah is yours. Whatever began in anger always ends in shame and regret. وَالْكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظَ وَالْعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ. Have to end, but I'll tell you, try to learn how to be patient, especially with those who harm you. Umar said, when somebody tell you something bad, just let it go above your head. Don't stand to receive it with your heart and fully, just a little bit, let it pass. Be patient with people. Also, always remember that al-aqiba lit-taqwa. In the end of the days, the winner is the one who have the best of manners. Imam Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, a man came to him and he said, I'm going to say something about you, something bad, that it will be known and remembered until it will follow you to your grave. Then Abu Bakr as-Siddiq smiled and said, my grave? No, it will follow you to your grave. What an answer. He said, whatever he says is not going to come to my grave. It's going to follow you into your grave. He understands that al-aqiba lit-taqwa. Whatever you say. So that's important thing to help you when you test it. Please try to always be in the company of good people. People well-mannered, to learn from their akhlaq. Especially your kids. Make sure that we revival that. Send your kids to Shaykh, not just to teach them Quran, but also to teach them. And you heard the Salaf used to care about teaching them manners before teaching the Quran. I don't want my kids to go to Tahfidh al-Quran where teachers, unfortunately, some of them might curse, use bad words, but I'm not going to go on negativity, but that's not right. Also, learn how to control your tongue. Bite it. A man once told one of the scholars, he said, it was reported that Amr ibn al-As was said that. A man told him, are you challenging me? Amr said, no. He said, listen. He's saying to Amr ibn al-As, he said, listen, if you say one word, I will reply with 10. Then Amr ibn al-As said, and if you say 10, I'm not going to say one. Don't worry. I know how to control this. Control it. If you want to have good manners, no. Always find an excuse for people. Make dua for them. I will help you a lot to pass these tests when your manners is tested. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.